Hey, this is Keegan with Applied Machine and welcome to another video. Today we're going over how to use the Renishaw part probe on a Hurco. Now, we're just going over the commonly used blocks and we'll touch on the rest of it, how to set it up, all the functions, the different work offsets, in a future video. Like I said, we're just going to do the basics today. So let's go ahead and begin. So the four blocks that we're going to focus on today are edge, plane intersection, hole, and cylinder. Okay, so if we look at edge, what it's going to do is it's going to touch off in one direction. All right, you're going to have it next to the edge that you want to touch off. You're going to hit start cycle, and it'll move in that direction. In the first case, we'll have X. You then manually move it to do Y. Again, you can see that it's establishing that plane once it touches, and then manually move it to do Z and get the top of your part. Plane intersection will touch off on 2 points. You can see the two offsets in for the X and two offsets for the Y, and it'll create two planes, and where those two planes intersect, that is where your part 0 is at. For the whole operation, what you're going to do is bring the probe to the center of the circle, and it's going to touch off in 3 different angles. These angles will determine the diameter and the center of the hole. For cylinder, it's the same idea, but this time it's going to the outside diameter. You'll center the probe in the middle of the cylinder, and then it'll automatically move to the 3 angles. Move down, and then come back towards the part and find the outer diameter. Let's go ahead and queue up our probe. What you're going to do is go manual, tool management, and then you can go ahead and queue it up. In our case, it's tool number 99, but your probe might be assigned a different tool number. Start cycle. Now we're going to go ahead and jog the probe down to the part. One thing to note, the machine controller won't let you go past 10x. You can either do 1x speed or 10x speed, but you won't be able to do the 100x. This is to help you not damage your probe. As I'm lowering the probe, I wanted to point out that it only turns on when it's in the vertical position. So if you aren't using it, put it back in the tool magazine so it doesn't waste the batteries. Then we go input, part setup, part probing. Go part 0 probe cycles, and you can see we have our edge, hole, cylinder, and plane intersection. We'll start with edge. Again, X, Y, and Z. You can choose the positive or the negative direction, and the preset. What this X preset does is if you keep it at 0, it'll make the part 0 at the place where you touched off. But if you have it set to something like -1, what you're saying is the edge that you touched off from is 1 inch away from the part 0. Therefore, it moves the part 0 to be 1 inch into the part. For now, we're just going to keep it at 0. I already have it lined up, so I'm going to hit start probe cycle. And you can see I'm right there next to my edge, and it's just touching off, and it gives me that value. It says accept the edge as the X. I'm going to hit yes. Now I'm moving this manually over here to the Y, just getting it to the middle point of that edge. I'm going to hit Y now, and same idea, start cycle. Now that I'm there, it's just touching off. Gives me my option for the Y. I'm going to raise it up and put it on over the top of the surface. And this is where we can do our Z probing cycle. So here we are. I'm just going to hit Z. I'm in the right direction. It can only go down. I'm going to hit Z. And as you can see now, it's touching off there and give me that part Z. All right. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and do the plane intersection. Okay, so this one is a little different. You have 4 offsets. And you can choose the X direction positive and the Y direction positive. These offsets are the distance from where you start the probe. Offset 1 and 2 move in the Y, but they touch off in the X. Offset 3 and 4 move in the X and touch off in Y. There you can see what numbers I used. I already have my offsets set up, so I'm going to hit start cycle, but just like in our animation, you see this is our first offset right here, and it's going to our second offset. Then it's going to come back to the beginning and go in the X direction to probe the Y. Now it's doing the second Y probing. That's the fourth offset, and there you go. Now this one set the part 0 at that corner. So let's go ahead and do the hole. And you can see we have our angles and our presets. The presets are the same thing as before, it just goes off the part 0. And as you can see, I already had it in the hole, and now I am probing it. It's going to go twice to make sure it's accurate. When it's done, it's going to give you the part 0, and it'll actually give you a diameter of what the hole is. Now, if we get out of there and go cylinder, it's the same idea, except this time, now we have the Z drop down depth. This time, I'll start with the ruby about 1/4 inch above the part. And because the Z drop down depth is set to 1/2 inch, it'll move out and down to find the edge. Once again, it'll put the part 0 in the center and tell you the diameter. Now, if you can't probe your part at those angles, maybe it's because you have a semicircle or there's something in the way, then you can change those angles to anything that you need it to. In our case, I'm going to use 90, 0, and 270. Now, let's go back to hole or circle pocket. Then, like I said, let's change these angles. There you go, it gives the diameter and the part coordinates. Don't forget to clear the tool probe from the spindle when you're done. Now, if you want to change the active work offset, go back to the input screen, part programming, miscellaneous, more, work offsets. And as you can see here, we're using G54, but if you select that, you can choose which work offset you want to use. And that's where the probing results will be stored. All right, now you know how to use the probe to find the edges, the center, and even a diameter on your part. Stay tuned for future videos as we unpack even more that you can do with this probe. I'll see you there.